My mom didn't shout when she told me to leave. She didn't even look angry. She kept washing the same plate again and again. Her back turned to me, and said, "You should pack your things tonight." I felt my throat tighten. All I did was ask why he's always here when Dad can't even stand. She dried her hands slowly and finally faced me. Her eyes were cold. "You've always imagined problems," she said. "You're sick in the head, just like your father." I stood there shaking, realizing I wasn't being punished. I was being removed. And at that moment, I still did what she had already taken from me. My name is Ethan Cole. I was 28 years old, living in a small town called Ridgewood, where the factories were closing faster than people could leave. I had always been quiet. At that time, I was a part-time grocery clerk, working mornings and coming home before noon. Most mornings, I woke up before the alarm. My body felt weak even before my feet touched the floor, like the night had eaten something from me again. The room smelled faintly of dust and old books. This used to be my childhood bedroom, but now it felt borrowed, temporary, like I was already half gone. I would sit on the edge of the bed and listen, Dad coughing. Mom's footsteps moving quickly down the hall. Her phone buzzing once, then silence. I dressed quietly and went to the kitchen. The light above the sink flickered. I made coffee with shaking hands, careful not to spill. Every small sound felt dangerous in that house. Dad sat at the table, shoulders slumped, his face thinner every week. "Morning, son," he said softly. "Morning," I replied, forcing my voice steady. He tried to smile, but it never reached his eyes. When he reached for his pills, his fingers trembled. I moved to help him, but my mom's voice cut through the room. "He can do it himself," she said sharply. She stood by the counter, already dressed, hair perfect, perfume too strong for such an early hour. She didn't look at Dad. She didn't look at me either. After work, I came home early one day and saw a car in the driveway I didn't recognize. My stomach tightened before I even stepped inside. A man was sitting in the living room. In my dad's chair. He laughed easily, like he belonged there. My mom stood beside his arm in a way that felt too familiar. "Oh," she said when she saw me. "You're home already?" I nodded, my chest tight. "A friend," she replied quickly, "from work." Dad was in the bedroom. Resting. I knew that because the door was closed. The man didn't stand. He just looked at me, measuring me, then turned back to my mom as if I didn't matter. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My heart wouldn't slow down. Every memory of that smile, that touch, replayed in my head. I told myself I was overthinking. That I was always told I did that. The next morning, my sister stopped by. She hugged Mom first. "Why are you always so tense?" she asked me later. "Mom says you're making things harder than they need to be." I didn't answer. I just felt something heavy settle in my chest. That was when I understood my place in that house had already shifted. I just hadn't been told yet. And whatever was coming next was going to hurt more than I was ready for. My dad wasn't always sick. Before his body gave up, he was the strongest person I knew. He built the house with his own hands, waking before dawn, coming home with dust on his boots and pride in his eyes. He used to say, "Everything I do is for this family." When he got ill, everything changed quietly. No arguments. No big scenes. Just small shifts that felt harmless at first. My mom said she would handle the money until Dad got better. "It's temporary," she told him, smiling. "You should rest." The mail stopped coming to the table. Bank letters disappeared. When I asked where Dad's paperwork was, she said, "Why are you always suspicious?" The first painful realization came late one night. I was walking past the kitchen when I heard her whispering on the phone. Her voice was low, careful. "He signed everything," she said. "I've got control now. Don't worry." I stopped breathing, my hands went cold. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart beating so hard it hurt. When she hung up, I went to Dad's room. He was asleep. Mouth slightly open, breathing uneven. I opened the drawer where he kept his documents. The folder was gone. That night, I didn't sleep. My chest felt tight. Like something heavy was sitting on it. I kept telling myself there was an explanation. There had to be. The second realization came weeks later. Dad's doctor recommended a new treatment. Not a miracle. Just something that might slow things down. When I asked Mom about it, she shook her head. "Insurance won't cover it," she said flatly. "And we don't have the money." But later that same week she came home with new clothes. Expensive ones. Her phone rang constantly. She started going out more, saying she needed The man from before showed up more often. He didn't bother pretending anymore. One afternoon, I found Dad sitting alone, staring at the wall. "They say we're short on money," he said quietly. I swallowed hard. "Did you sign something for Mom?" He nodded slowly. "She said it was just so she could pay the bills." My hands shook. I felt heat rise up my neck, my jaw tightening so hard it hurt. That night, I finally asked the question that changed everything. "Why is he always here when Dad is sick?" I asked her. She froze, just for a second. Then her face hardened. "You don't get to question me," she said. "You don't contribute anything to this house." "I'm just asking," I said, my voice cracking. "This doesn't feel right." That's when she looked at me like I was nothing. "You've always been weak," she said. "Always sick. Always dragging us down." My chest burned. My ears rang. The next morning my bag was by the door. "Pack your things," she said calmly. "You should go." I looked at Dad. He tried to speak but she cut him off. "He's an adult," she said. "He'll figure it out." When I stepped outside, the air felt sharp, like it was cutting my lungs. My legs felt numb as I walked away from the only home I had ever known. Behind me, the door closed softly. And in that silence, I realized I wasn't just losing my place in the house. I was losing my family. What I didn't know yet was that she hadn't just taken the house or the money. She had taken something far worse. I slept on a friend's couch that first night, staring at the ceiling while my body shook from the cold and shock. My phone stayed silent, no message from my mom, no explanation, just absence. 2 days later, my sister called. "Mom wants to meet," she said. "There's a family meeting." My stomach tightened, my palms grew damp. We met at my aunt's house. The living room smelt like old carpet and strong tea. Everyone sat in a circle. But there was no seat for me. I stood near the wall feeling like a guest in my own family. My mom spoke first. "And has been unstable," she said calmly. "He's been making accusations, stressing his father." My chest burned. "That's not true," I said. "I only asked." She raised her hand. "See, this is what I mean." My aunt nodded slowly. My sister avoided my eyes. Then my mom pulled out an envelope. "There's also the matter of your father's estate," she continued. "Given Ethan's condition and lack of contribution, we've decided it's best he not be included." The room went quiet. My ears rang, my legs felt weak. "What do you mean?" I asked. She looked at me with fake concern. "You wouldn't be able to handle responsibility. This is for your own good." I felt my throat tighten. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. "So I get nothing?" I asked. She sighed, like I was exhausting her. "You should focus on getting healthy instead of chasing money." I wanted to scream. Instead, my voice came out low and shaking. "Did Dad agree to this?" She smiled thinly. "Has signed what needed to be signed." That was the moment something inside me snapped. I stood there, my hands trembling, realizing this wasn't just betraying. This was planning. This was erasure. I left without another word. Outside, my chest felt tight like I couldn't get enough air. I bent over, hands on my knees, breathing hard while people walked past me like nothing had happened. That night I sat alone in my friend's garage. My body ached. My head throbbed. Every memory replayed in my mind, Dad's shaking hands, Mom's calm lies, the way everyone looked away. I opened my phone and scrolled through old photos, receipts, messages, missed calls. That's when I saw it. An old email from Dad, sent months ago. Subject line, "In case something happens." My fingers hovered over the screen. My heart slowed, then raced again. I hadn't opened it before, I didn't know why. Maybe I was afraid. I tapped it. And in that moment, sitting alone in the cold garage, I realized my mom hadn't just lied to the family. She had lied to my father too. And whatever was inside the email was going to change everything. That night, I didn't sleep. The garage was cold, but my body felt hot, like something was burning just under my skin. I lay on a thin mat, staring at the dark ceiling, the sound of my own breathing too loud in my ears. Every time I closed my eyes I saw my mom's face, calm, certain, finished with me. I opened Dad's email again. His words were simple, no drama, just facts. He wrote that he was worried. That Mom had been pushing papers in front of him when he was too tired to read. That he trusted her, but something didn't feel right. He asked me to look into if anything ever happened to him. My chest tightened until it hurt. I rolled onto my side, curling inward, my stomach aching like I hadn't eaten in days. My hands shook as I put the phone down. I pressed my palm against my chest, feeling my heart beat hard and uneven. All those years, she had called me weak, sick, a burden, And I believed her. I remembered being a kid, sitting at the kitchen table, trying to show her my report card. She didn't look up from her phone then either. I remembered how she praised my sister for everything, even things she barely tried at. I remembered learning to stay quiet because quiet people didn't get in the way. The memories kept coming, one after another. Like they had been waiting, I got up and paced the garage. My legs felt heavy but I forced them to move. Step after step. My muscles burned quickly, my lungs tight. I stopped, bent over, hands on my knees, breathing hard. Weak, she had said. I dropped to the floor and did one push-up, then another, then another. My arms shook. Sweat ran down my face, stinging my eyes. I didn't stop when it hurt. I stopped when my body refused to move. I lay there on the concrete, chest heaving, staring at the wall. Something inside me felt different. Not loud, not angry, focused. The next days blurred together. I worked mornings, trained evenings. I ate cheap food, drank water, slept when my body gave out. My muscles screamed, old pains came back. New ones replaced them. At night I replayed everything. The family meeting, the envelope, her voice saying I was unstable. I stopped wishing she would call, I stopped hoping she would explain. Instead, I started asking myself questions. What did she hide? Who helped her? Where did the money go? I wasn't strong yet, not in my body, not in my life. But something had changed in my mind. One evening, after another long workout alone, I sat on the floor, my back against the wall, sweat cooling on my skin. My hands were sore. My knuckles red. I thought about going back, about asking for forgiveness I didn't owe, about standing in front of her and begging. My stomach turned at the thought. I shook my head slowly. I wasn't going to beg anymore. I wiped my face, picked up my phone and opened Dad's email again. This time, I didn't read it like a warning. I read it like a responsibility. And for the first time since I was thrown out, I felt calm enough to plan my next move. I didn't rush into anything. That was the first rule I made for myself. Every morning before work, I sat at a small table in the garage with a notebook. My hands were rough now, fingers stiff from training, but my writing stayed careful. I wrote down dates, names, conversations I remembered word for word. I started with documents. Dad's email mentioned papers he had signed while medicated. That meant there had to be copies somewhere. I went to the bank first. My heart raced as I stood in line, my shirt damp with sweat even though the place was cold. I'd like copies of my father's account history, I said. The woman behind the desk looked at her screen, then at me. I'm sorry, she said. You're not listed as an authorized contact. My jaw tightened. What about past statements? She shook her head gently. You'd need power of attorney. Or a court request. I walked out feeling small again, my chest heavy. Outside, I leaned against the brick wall and closed my eyes. For a moment, I wondered if my mom had one already. But I didn't stop. I went to Dad's old workplace. The manager still remembered him. We sat in a quiet office that smelled like paper and dust. He was worried near the end. The man said slowly, asked about early withdrawals. Asked who had access. That was the first crack. Next came emails. I searched every old account Dad and I had ever shared. Buried deep was a forwarded message from Mom to her boyfriend. She hadn't even changed the subject line. It mentioned money, dates, a plan to sell the house. My hands shook so badly I had to sit down. Still, proof isn't power unless it's complete. I needed witnesses. I spoke to neighbors, nurses, the family lawyer Dad used years ago. Most people were uncomfortable. Some refused to talk. One told me quietly, your mother controls the story. That night, I sat alone in the garage, staring at the floor. My muscles ached from training, but this pain was deeper. My stomach felt hollow. Then came the setback. I requested medical records, they were denied. Reason consent already granted to my mother. I laughed out loud when I read that, a short, broken sound. I pressed my palm against my forehead and stayed like that for a long time. For the first time, I felt close to giving up. What if the truth didn't matter? What if people preferred her version? I skipped training that night. Sat still. Let the doubt sit with me. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from my aunt. Your mother says you're spreading lies. She's considering legal action. My chest tightened, my throat went dry. I realized something then. She wasn't afraid of me. She was afraid of the truth being organized. That changed everything. I borrowed money and spoke to a legal aid counselor. Not a hero, just tired, honest. You don't need everything, she said. You need enough. We filed a request for a formal review of the estate. Not aggressive, careful. Weeks passed. I trained harder. Ate better. Saved money. My body changed slowly. My reflection stopped looking fragile. Then the letter arrived, family mediation, mandatory attendance. My hands trembled as I held it. My heart beat slow and heavy. She thought this would end quietly, she thought on would fold. That night, I sat on the garage floor. The letter beside me, sweat drying on my skin. I looked at the evidence spread around me. And for the first time, I knew I wasn't walking into a trap. She was. The mediation room was smaller than I expected. Beige walls, a long table, a box of tissues no one touched, the air felt dry and my mouth tasted like metal. I sat straight, hands folded, my body steady even though my heart beat slow and heavy in my chest. My mom walked in wearing a calm smile. She didn't look at me. Her boyfriend wasn't there. That alone told me something. The mediator spoke first, explaining rules, tone, purpose. My mom nodded politely, like she was already finished with this. He's confused, she said gently. My son has always struggled. I felt heat rise in my neck, but I stayed quiet. When it was my turn, I stood. My legs felt strong under me. That surprised me. I'm not here to accuse, I said. I'm here to show. I slid the documents forward. Bank statements showing withdrawals timed with my dad's hospital stays. Emails forwarded by mistake. A timeline I had built slowly, carefully. The room went quiet. The mediator leaned forward. My aunt shifted in her chair. My mom frowned slightly, just slightly. These are misinterpretations, she said. My husband trusted me. That's true, I replied. He trusted you. I opened my phone and read Dad's email aloud. My voice stayed even, but my chest tightened with every word. When I finished, no one spoke. The mediator cleared his throat. These documents raised serious concerns. My sister stared at the table. My aunt pressed her lips together. Then came the question no one wanted to ask. Why wasn't Ethan informed of these changes? The mediator said. My mom opened her mouth, closed it. She adjusted her scarf. Her hands shook slightly. I was protecting him, she said quietly. That was when I left. The mediator explained next steps. A review, possible restitution, no accusations yet. Just process. But the damage was already done. Outside, my family stood in silence. No one rushed to comfort her. No one looked at me either. My mom finally turned toward me. Her eyes were empty, not angry, not sad, just exposed. You didn't have to do this, she said. I felt a strange calm settle in my chest. I asked one question. I replied. You did the rest. She looked away, no tears fell, no words followed. As she walked toward her car, shoulders tight, I realized something I hadn't expected. This wasn't victory, it was distance. And for the first time, that distance felt like relief. But as I watched her drive away, I knew the story wasn't finished yet. Because truth doesn't end things. It changes them. Life didn't change overnight. There were meetings, paperwork, long waits filled with silence. The house was sold, not dramatically, just listed, viewed, and gone. The money was divided under supervision. I didn't attend the signing, I didn't want to. I moved into the small apartment near an old warehouse district. The walls were bare. The floors were cold in the morning. It felt clean. Honest, I trained every day. At first it was just for structure. Something solid to hold on to. My body moved easier now. My breathing steadier. The mirror no longer showed someone I avoided looking at. One afternoon asked if I could help them train. Then another. Soon I was spending evenings teaching basics. Nothing fancy, just patience and consistency. I rented a corner of an old gym that smelled like iron and sweat. My phone buzzed one night. It was my mom. I stared at the screen for a long time. My chest tightened, my fingers went numb. I didn't answer. Instead, I went back to counting reps. Later, my sister visited. She stood awkwardly by the door. She doesn't know how to fix this, she said quietly. I nodded, neither did I. But I wasn't responsible for her repair. Weeks passed. My gym hours filled. People listened when I spoke. That surprised me more than anything else. One evening, after everyone left, I sat alone on the floor. My muscles were tired, but it was a cut of tired. My breathing slowed, the room felt still. I thought about my dad. I wished he could see this version of me. Not strong in body alone, but steady in spirit. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel proud either. I just felt done. As I locked up and turned off the lights, I realized something had shifted. The story wasn't about proving her wrong. It was about choosing where I stood when the noise stopped. And for the first time in years, I stood somewhere that felt like mine. But there was still one thing left to say. Not to her. To myself. I used to think survival meant staying close to the people who hurt you. That if you left, you lost. Now I know better. Distance is not punishment, it's protection. My mom didn't lose me because I exposed her. She lost me the moment she decided silence was easier than truth. I don't carry anger with me anymore, it's too heavy. I've learned that revenge isn't about watching someone fall. It's about standing still while they realize they can't reach you anymore. I built my life slowly. Not to impress anyone, not to prove a point, just to breathe without fear. Some nights I still think about that kitchen, the sound of plates. Her voice, calm and final. But those memories don't control me now. They're just markers of where I stopped shrinking. I don't wish her pain. I don't wish her forgiveness either. I wish her distance. Because dignity isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand witnesses. It's waking up in a life that doesn't require permission. It's knowing that even when you are erased, you can redraw the lines. Quietly, carefully, on your own terms. And that is how I survived.